Good morning, Harlock. I want to start by welcoming the Minister and actually wishing the Minister well in her new role, and also welcoming her to the heart of the North Inner City. I'm not too sure about the auditorium we're in, but absolutely the location is spectacular, so you're very welcome. I think because of where we are, where we're located, I do want to raise an issue that is locally relevant but also nationally important, and does also factor into the estimates that we've been presented. The North Inner City is defined by, and the North Inner City, like many places throughout Ireland, is defined by its connection to the arts. I mean, you just have to walk around the corner there and you'll see a statue to one of our greatest, Luke Kelly, who's undergone a bit of a hard time of late, but it's spectacular as it is in that location. But we've also got people who make their careers and live their lives through the arts, not in the performing arts, but in the associated industries related to it. Minister, in your estimates you have the number of feature film projects receiving production funding from Screen Ireland being 40 this year, 39 last year and 43 the year before. It's very welcome. The film industry in Ireland is obviously, it's performing greatly at the moment, but behind that film industry is the workers who make it happen. And I'm not on about the actors or the producers or the directors who are very rightfully acclaimed internationally. I'm on about the workers, the carpenters, the painters, the set designers, many of those who live around the North Inner City itself. I think there's 400 members of the Irish Film Industry Association, and for the last number of years they've been asking for respect. They've been asking for the plight that they're being experiencing in their labour, the lack of safety, the lack of appropriate conditions. They've been asking that to be raised. I know my colleague to my right here has been raising it for a long time. But I would ask, Minister, a simple request that you meet the industry, meet these professionals. That's all they're asking for. We had a presentation in the COVID committee last week from people who make their living through the arts, from the engineers and people of that nature, and it was really interesting. And to hear the kind of the plight that they're facing, and all they're asking for is to be included. These are not these won't be able to apply for grants through the Arts Council, so we're asking for them to be included. Minister, I know your department are meeting representatives from EPIC. I'd ask that you meet people from the Irish Film Association also. That's their only request at the moment, and I'd ask that you meet it. I would like to raise the issue, an important issue of local authority funding as it pertains to the arts. Local authorities, in my previous role in the Council of Dublin City Council, I had the great honour of being the chair of the Arts and Cultural SPC for a very short period of time. But while in that role I got to see the all-encompassing nature of local authorities and the role it plays within the arts. It brings arts down into the communities, it helps with funding, it provides funding to new artists coming through, it's innovative in the manner in which it does it, and it's flexible. And also in terms of the new communities where we have local authorities and arts funding that's associated with it, it's the major way by which new communities can access funding that are able to see their own reflection in our arts. Minister, I want to ask, will that funding be protected? Is it possible that it can be enhanced? And in particular, I want to raise the issue of discretionary funding on local authorities, because discretionary funding not catered for in the estimates is usually the point where communities who aren't going to be able to fill out the forms, often making their first steps into the arts, are able to access a small little grant by which they can pour on the local production, by which a local artist can get a small grant. And that's been decimated over the last couple of months, even before COVID-19. I'd imagine that's become an even greater problem after the pandemic. So I'd ask that when you pay particular attention to local authorities, to look at the local authority and the discretionary funding available there, because that's a really important funding mechanism for artists. The 25 million that was announced recently for the further arts funding, 20 million going to the Arts Council and a further 5 million still to be decided. I mean, that's really welcome. But it's really welcome because of such a low bar from which we are starting from. Arts in Ireland has been, we talk about it all the time. When people come into the airport, we put up pictures of our artists. We use it to sell ourselves on a global stage. But then we also have grotesquely underfunded it for decades now, despite taking advantage of it so much. That 25 million is welcome, but compare that to the stimulus that was announced across the water in the UK at the minute, which extended into the billions. And even in terms of what that meant for the north of Ireland, where they got 36.7 million euro into their arts, despite having a smaller population and a smaller cohort of artists. And while their artists absolute and our artistic community welcome the 25 million. Firstly, it's not enough, but secondly, even at that point, can we guarantee that that is committed to for next year also, and possibly even extended? And very importantly, and I think this is vitally important for the artistic community is feeling vulnerable at the minute, and the thing that's keeping it alive and keeping our artists and artistic communities alive and helping them to feed themselves is the pandemic unemployment payment and the temporary wage subsidy scheme. This needs to be continued for as long as our artistic community can't access their workplace in the manner in which they've been able to previously. So, Minister, be it through the July stimulus or any other mechanism, and I know you will advocate strongly, please advocate to keep our artists being able to avail of the pandemic unemployment payment and the temporary wage subsidy scheme until such time that they can return to their place of work. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Antara.
Thank you, Deputy. There was a couple of issues there. In relation to the 25 million and comparing it to the supports that are given across the waters, the first thing to say is that making comparisons across different countries is very difficult for many reasons. For example, population size and perhaps the nature of the arts and the entertainment sector. The UK, for example, has a very large commercial theatre sector, and according to the EU, arts and culture share of public expenditure in Ireland in recent years is broadly in line with the EU average. And just say the Arts Council has established an expert advisory group to make recommendations on measures to support the arts, and the recent allocation of that additional 25 million to the sector, including the 20 million to the Arts Council, was a direct response to the need identified by that expert advisory group, and it's also in line, very much in line with the recommendations of the National Campaign for the Arts. I am very mindful of the concerns of people working in the sector. I am absolutely willing to meet with all stakeholders. That is my intention, and that's what I'll be doing. In relation to the local authorities, your question there, local authorities have indeed well-developed connections with local historical groups and are very effective in supporting a wide range, say, for example, of commemorative events. And also the creative communities has been implemented through the local authorities, largely through a joint investment programme of 8.7 million, supported by Creative Ireland programme and the Department of Housing, Planning and Local Government. So yes, we will continue to protect that. In relation to the discretionary funding that you mentioned there, I will sit down with my officials in the department and tease that out on how best to deal with that, Deputy. And if you bear with me, as I've said, I'm keenly aware of the struggles that are there and the crises there, and I'm determined to include all stakeholders and listen to all stakeholders as we seek to support them. Thank you.